All right, folks, I wasn't expecting this Sunday to be a big news day, but we got a little bit of drama on the XRP ledger. Uh-oh. We're going to be talking about this snowstorm that's hitting the East Coast. Will Congress be able to get together tomorrow and certify this election here? And speaking of this election, Trump coming in, we've been talking about this Trump pump, and we just got confirmation from Brad Garlinghouse that the bull run is for real. This is the XRP bull run, the Trump pump. It is a happening, and we got confirmation from Brad that they are signing U.S. partners right now as we speak. More since the election than they've signed in the past 6 months. Full breakdown and update here for you guys. Hope you're having a blessed Sunday. If you guys are new here, make sure you guys have subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our updates. All of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. Let's get right on into it. So we got a massive snowstorm coming in here. And so Mike Johnson, our House Speaker, is making it very clear that Congress will certify Donald Trump's presidency on Monday, tomorrow. Storm or no storm, a foot of snow, 2 feet of snow, a blizzard will not stop Donald Trump from being certified as your president of the United States of America. The Electoral Count Act requires this on January 6th at 1 p.m. So whether we're in a blizzard or not, we're going to be in that chamber making sure that this is done. Republicans are back in D.C., ready to make it official. No delays, no excuses. So that Trump pump, let it continue. Take a look at it here from Brad Garlinghouse. 2025 is here and the Trump bull market is real. Now, folks said that I was just a clickbaiter for calling it a Trump pump. Some people were offended that I was talking about a Trump pump because he's the big bad orange man. Well, whether you like him, love him, hate him, or are offended by him, it's not going to stop that number from going on up. Back to Brad. For Ripple, this is even more personal after Gensler's SEC effectively froze our business opportunities here at home for years. A lot of manipulation, a lot of suppression, that's all over. The optimism is obvious and very deserved. Today, 75% of Ripple's open roles are now US based, while over the last 4 years, the vast majority of hires were outside the United States. So already, haven't even made this thing official yet, but Ripple's already hiring as we welcome back the most pro-crypto Congress we've ever elected. We bring in Donald Trump. Ripple's already firing it up. Already 75% of Ripple's open roles are now here in the United States. Furthermore, we signed more U.S. deals in the last 6 months of 2024 since the election than the previous 6 months. Now, what I find very, very peculiar about this statement is that he says in the previous 6 months. So does that mean that prior to this, we actually were still adding U.S. partners? He says that we signed more U.S. deals in the last 6 weeks of 2024 since the election than the previous 6 months. So that tells me that they were still signing deals, right? Many people were speculating. Is the business actually dead here in the U.S. or are we still doing, maybe we already have pre-allocation contracts. We've had partnerships with MoneyGram, with Bank of America. Are these partnerships really still there, but they kind of were just put on pause, right? Would essentially put on pause, waiting for this case to conclude. That's what we heard from representatives from Bank of America. They were saying at Ripple Swell Conference back in 2021, 22, whenever that was, a couple years ago, the rumors were that Bank of America was walking around Swell saying, we're waiting to use XRP for a competitive advantage once this lawsuit concludes. Now, will we ever be able to know, how much damage was done just to Ripple's business as far as how many deals basically fell through the cracks, how many deals were put on pause because of this lawsuit? Will we ever know? Maybe, maybe not. But what we're seeing right now is that they're now hiring 75% of open roles for Ripple in the United States, continuing to invest in the U.S. despite all of this, and it's seemingly, able to continue adding U.S. partners even while this lawsuit was going on. We know they were still selling XRP to institutions while this lawsuit was still going on, but now confirming that this has exploded in the past 6 weeks, adding more clients than they have in the previous 6 months. So Ripple is back here in the United States. They never left, even though they had very good reason to. But now we're seeing massive hiring, massive investment, and we're seeing U.S. partnerships getting signed. And this is just getting started. I think that you're going to see a lot more with RLUSD. That flip of the switch that we've seen, the volume really pick up, more exchange listings coming online. And then the other big one too is the IPO, right? He was saying, yeah, we don't need to IPO. We're probably going to go somewhere else. We're considering other markets. That never was the plan. That never was really the plan, right? Brad was telling a little fib there, in my opinion. And so now we wait to get the plans for the IPO of Ripple. And you guys have seen my videos on the Ripple valuation. I still think that Ripple, the company, incredibly undervalued. Now, finishing off the comments here from Brad, Team Trump is already jumpstarting innovation and job growth in the United States with Scott Bessent, David Sachs, Paul Atkins, and others at the helm. And they aren't even in office yet. Say what you want, but the Trump effect is already making crypto great again through his campaign and in the administration's day one priorities. Now, remember, I was, called a hypester. I was clickbaiting you guys for talking about the Trump pump, and folks said that this was never going to happen, that he was going to come back. And then they admitted, okay, yeah, it looks like he's going to come back. Is the effect on crypto even going to be that big? And I think that even I underestimated how quickly we were going to bounce back just off the victory in the election. Now, this is just the start, though. Look here further. John Dean now offering his services as a former prosecutor and special assistant to the United States Attorney. I am very serious about volunteering to help lead a federal investigation into Choke Point 2.0. I would accept the task without salary. The American people deserve the truth, a hell of a lot more than I or anyone else needs another taxpayer-funded paycheck. So just like when he represented the XRP community, he didn't accept any of our money, not a dime. When it's coming here to, stepping up to fill this role for the Trump administration, he doesn't want a dime. And this is why we love John Deaton. This is why we've supported him against his fight against Elizabeth Warren. He did a fantastic job over there. And now we see that John Deaton is not done. And this is what's so exciting about this process. The XRP story is just one part of this journey, one part of saving this country. We said that the damages done to the XRP community were massive, but it wasn't just us that was harmed by the SEC and other regulators. Now it's come out in these letters that Paul Grewal and Coinbase were able to dig up that our FDIC, in the middle of a banking crisis, small and regional banks collapsing, and Janet Notel and Yellen saying, don't worry, guys, if you're a big bank, if you're systemically important, you got a backstop. We'll save you. If you're not, well, good luck, God bless. And she didn't even give us a God bless. She didn't even give us a good luck. She basically just said, yeah, we are going to let you fail if you're a small and regional bank that's not systemically important. And this is our FDIC during this banking crisis, during this moment, running around telling everybody to stay far away from crypto, have nothing to do with crypto, even though the banking system itself was imploding. And it still is, by the way. Now, speaking of having some issues, well, the XRP ledger did have some issues today. And per usual, as we always see every single time, if the network has a little issue, if we can't get some amendments passed right away, then everybody, is trying to figure out what's happening. And it's a prime opportunity, a ripe opportunity for some of these guys to come in and FUD XRP, right? They're spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's what we saw here again today. And it's really unfortunate. I think that these comments that I'm about to show you here are some of the most irresponsible comments I've seen made by any of these developers in our ecosystem. Completely uncalled for, unreasonable, not productive, and very damaging, I think, to the XRP Ledger ecosystem at a time when we're trying to figure some things out. To make the statements that Scott Branson just made, I think are very, very dangerous. And I'm not going to speculate on who's trying to maybe have an agenda or not. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. We know that the XRP Ledger Foundation has rebranded. We know that some of the validators, some of the folks that have been in the community have left. We know some of them have issues. Some of them are just downright calling Ripple a fraud, and all while they launch a new network, Zahao. And we've been supportive of Zahao because it's one of the smart contract networks that's built around this hub and spoke model that we have for the XRP ledger. XRP being the best source of liquidity, and then we're connected to Zahao, Corium, Flare, all these other blockchain. We've liked this. We've been supportive of all these other networks. But for some reason, Scott Branson, completely out of hand, came out today and made these comments. He says, I always encourage people to trust L1 networks like the XRP Ledger over exchanges. Given the instability of the XRP Ledger, I cannot in good faith encourage anyone to store assets on the ledger as they become inaccessible. Consider moving your XRP to a trusted exchange. Now, okay, there's a few things wrong with this. He does post the caveat. This is just my opinion, of course. Anything you do with your assets is your own choice. Basically, given a not financial advice statement, right? That a lot of people throw out. Now, I commented and I said, so the network is having issues and your first thought is to tell everyone to move your assets to exchanges. How in any way is this safe or productive? Shouldn't we wait? Just stop sending transactions while we wait for our validators to work it out. How would our assets become inaccessible? Well, Scott did respond. If the network is paused, no transactions go through. Deposits are typically credited at the time of deposit, so you can still trade even if the L1 is inaccessible. So what he's saying basically is that you would still be able to trade the IOUs that you have at exchanges, but you're not going to be able to trade on the XRP Ledger DEX, or you're not going to be able to, potentially not be able to send transactions through the XRP Ledger temporarily. Now, I followed up and I said, why would you urge sending more transactions? He said, send assets to exchanges after we are currently having an issue. Seems like this would only cause more problems. And that's what I don't get. Okay, the XRP Ledger is going to pause. It does that on its own to protect the ledger. If we can't come to an 80% consensus, the ledger pauses and we just don't have any validators or we don't have any ledgers being validated. This is a security measure designed and put into the XRP Ledger on purpose. And so if we're having issues, why would you cause a panic, essentially, urging people to send their assets to exchanges? Why would you do this when we're having issues already and you're basically urging people to send more transactions through the ledger to send their assets to exchanges? And what was the point that he was even trying to get across? Basically, some funds might not be accessible for the time being, a very temporary pause with the network. Well, I went to my Discord group and basically I used the analogy. I said, unless you're trading your lunch money on the XRP Ledger DEX, basically the money that you're trading on the XRP Ledger DEX today is what you need to feed yourself today. Unless that's you, this is not an issue. Wow, your long-term holdings of XRP are really, you can't do much with them for the next hour or how. We didn't even really have much downtime. That's the thing. I'm still waiting to get confirmation from the validators on exactly what happened. But in the meantime, of course, these guys are hopping in here and spreading FUD and causing panic. And the point being, if you're actively trading the money that you need to feed yourself today on the XRP Ledger DEX, then yeah, you might have an issue. If you needed that $50 that you're trading and flipping some meme coins with to pay, to cash out and grab your lunch today, then you might have an issue. If you have your long-term holdings on the XRP Ledger, or you have some assets, you have some meme coins, you have some assets in the AMM, what's the issue? You can't send a transaction temporarily. Okay, not a problem. Are you in an active trade? That could be a problem. If you have the assets on an exchange, well, you're still going to have the ability to trade the IOUs that these exchanges are letting you trade, right? So there is no issue. It's not that your funds were inaccessible. It's just that they can't be transacted for the time being. You still can, you still have these, you still have your XRP, you still have your other assets. You just can't send a transaction. But who in all reality needs to get money out of the XRP Ledger today? Like this is an urgent thing. Like I said, if you're trading your lunch money on the XRP Ledger DEX today, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to make your lunch money somewhere else. And I'm not making fun of anybody for doing that. I'm just saying this is so ridiculous to cause a panic over this. And now it's not safe to store assets on the XRP Ledger. No, that's not the problem. The problem is just syncing up some of these validators and coming back into consensus. And there's a temporary pause while our validators figure it out. This is not a problem. And Scott even says, I do not have statistics on this, so take this with a lot of hesitation. But I don't think that the issues are heavily influenced by the number of transactions per ledger. If you want to ask people to stop transacting, you're welcome to do so. There is no harm to the network from fewer transactions. But you don't know whether or not there is an issue with sending more transactions through. And once again, what are you trying to do? You need to go cash out your meme coin so that you can go buy lunch? What are we talking about? It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I went to the XRP Ledger Explorer, and what I found is that most of our validators, these are our 35 validators on the UNL with the green check mark right here. And what you see is that most of these validators have not even missed a ledger. Zero missed validations. Zero missed validations. When you scroll on down here, we have 2 missed validations in the past 24 hours from GateHub. Okay. You got XRP GOAT has missed 291. You have this validator right here missing 543. You have these 3 validators which have missed over 1,000 validations in the past 24 hours. That's Bitfrost, BitHump, and XRP Kuwait. Now, the validator that has missed the most amount of ledgers in the past, or the most amount of validations in the past 24 hours, is Expector. Okay? So I'm waiting to see what happens here. I just put out this tweet, though, basically summarizing the situation. I said, here's what I found. Expector has missed the most validations in the past 24 hours, over 6,000. You got a few other validators that have missed over 1,000. I'm not sure whether or not this is the fault of the validators or what the real issue is today. No reason for panic, but of course some folks did take this opportunity to spread FUD, waiting for further confirmation. And what's funny, I saw that Neil posted this, software engineer from Ripple. Fun fact, so far in 2025, there have already been 3 times where it took longer than an hour for the Bitcoin network to mine a new block, i.e., no funds could be transferred for over an hour. Now, has anybody had a panic over this with Bitcoin? I mean, this is really the network stalling for over an hour. We haven't had anything like that happen today. The network is still running. There was some validators that missed some validations. We were still able to reach consensus, and there's still validators, I just showed you guys, which have reached 100% validation over the past 24 hours. And we haven't had really any long-term network halt or pause to speak of. Compare that with Bitcoin. Well, there's already been 3 times this year where it took over an hour to produce a block, meaning for over an hour, no transactions went through the Bitcoin network. Nobody noticed because they're so used and they just expect Bitcoin to be that slow. That's why nobody noticed. It's because everybody already expects Bitcoin to be so slow. But once again, we have to point this out. We have to come in here and we have to break away from the FUD, from the silliness, from the opportunistic folks that try to step in here and at any point, anything that comes up, they try to dig in on XRP. They try to dig in on the XRP ledger. Oh, maybe if we had some incentives, this would all work out. Well, as David Schwartz reminds us here today, because we had Artur speak up, this is from XP Market. Artur's been speaking up here a little bit. Says, David Schwartz says, Bitcoin has no incentives for node operators other than that they can use them to access the Bitcoin network. So basically, all you get for running a Bitcoin node or a validator, right, is you get some Bitcoins that you can use to access the network. Of course, you could cash those out as well, too. Scott Branson responds, but then David comes back and he says, I don't think there's really a problem. We rarely have much more infrastructure than we need because people are only incentivized to provide infrastructure when it meets their needs. It's nice to have lots of free spare infrastructure, but is that really even worth incentivizing? What we've noticed is that with these proof of stake networks, the incentive process, the incentive programs are not even really working that well. They're not scaling. We've covered how some ETH validators are dropping out because it no longer makes sense for them to run a validator for Ethereum. Even though they are getting an incentive, they are earning Ethereum. In the case of Bitcoin, you have incentives. They can earn some Bitcoin, but it hasn't stopped the network from going down for over an hour 3 times just 5 days into the new year. Nobody mentions that, but God forbid some validators on the XRP ledger are having some issues. Now it's the end of the world for XRP and we're finished. We've been trying to cut through the FUD now for the past 4 years that I've been dropping content, and we're trying to bring it back to what's really been happening, which is Ripple working with the institutions at the top, bringing new liquidity in, and then from the bottom end, from the retail, from the smaller developers and builders, we're still cooking too. And together, we will move the XRP ledger forward. We're going to bring a lot of liquidity onto the ledger. We're going to bring a lot of value onto the ledger. And any short-term growing pains are merely just that, and that alone. It is no big issue for the XRP ledger. We're going to continue to see the XRP ledger put out significant transactions. It's going to scale up further. As XRP price goes up, there's more money and capital available to run this infrastructure. There is no problem. And these partners and institutions that have been working with Ripple on accessing the XRP ledger, I suspect and speculate that we will see more of them spinning up validators and providing more infrastructure down the road, where it's not going to be, oh, we got to rely on Johnny Pants 69 in his mom's basement to run the XRP ledger. That never was the case, never will be, and that's an absolute joke to think that that's what we needed, is we needed more Johnny Pants 69 in his mom's basement running validators on the XRP ledger. That's never been the case. It's not going to be the case. And the institutions that are showing up on the XRP ledger are bringing capital, liquidity, and they're ready to bring some infrastructure as well. Nothing to be worried about. We'll keep you guys up to date. If you appreciate what we do, you know what to do. Appreciate you for stopping by. Have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.